Hey everyone, welcome back to Martial Arts History. The martial art for today is wrestling. So wrestling is a sport that requires a ton of physical strength, technique, and stamina to control your opponent, pin them down, grapple them down, obviously whatever is necessary to win. So wrestling is obviously a very popular sport and very well known, but most people might not know that it was actually introduced in the 19th century in Athens when the first modern Olympic Games were held. It wasn't until the 20th century that wrestling became more of a household name and became very popular as a sport. But rather than be introduced in a formal setting such as the Olympics, it gained popularity as a freestyle competition. Wrestling then went on to become a very popular sport and entertainment for the world. So some of the roots of wrestling were actually traced back to several murals which spanned all across the globe. For example, there's an ancient Egyptian mural that dates back to 2000 BC, which gives a little more evidence that wrestling has been around for a long time. To some, wrestling may seem like a very daunting sport or martial art because, you know, WWE and also the media. Wrestling is very intense and hard on your body, and it's debated in the wrestling community that those types of injuries usually bring you closer to your religious beliefs. The use of religion in wrestling for gaining viewership has been a controversial move for wrestling for many years. Wrestling has several different branches: international wrestling, collegiate wrestling, sambo, professional wrestling. Of course, there's a lot of wrestlers in mixed martial arts, MMA, and the UFC. So MMA, WWE, and Raw are very mainstream branches of wrestling and really boost that fan base. Some notable names in the WWE are Steve Austin, The Rock, John Cena, just to name a few. And of course, there are a ton of wrestlers in the UFC. You know, I think wrestling is one of the best backgrounds to have, especially when you're in the UFC. It's such a solid structure, and it's so important to understand your opponent's weight and how you can manipulate that. So apart from having, you know, a large fan base and huge viewership on the sports channels, wrestling has been incorporated into so many films. A lot of WWE wrestlers or professional wrestlers have actually stepped into the acting world, and one of the most, you know, famous is definitely The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. He's an inspiration to me. I really look up to him, and I love everything he's done with his career. I think he's very talented and remains humble, which is so important. It's understandable that, you know, the WWE became so popular. It's super entertaining. You know, it's a fake fight on screen. So growing up, I was such a true hardcore martial artist, and I didn't like WWE because I was like, that's fake, it's so annoying, it's so fake, blah 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 blah. I was a little snob, but really it's, I mean, that's what entertainment is. Like, that's what I do now. I entertain with fake fights. So it's funny how that came full circle. But you know, wrestling has been such an entertaining sport and martial art for so many years. You know, The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke is such an awesome film. Wrestling is such an important martial art and is such a wonderful foundation for arts like, you know, jiu-jitsu and things like that. It's just really a great core foundation to understand body mechanics and weight distribution. And of course, I recommend it like I recommend all other martial arts. And I've said this before, but you know, most fights go to the ground. So if you are ever in that situation, it's so great and important to understand a little bit of groundwork, being able to control your opponent as much as possible and defend yourself. All right, everyone, that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave additional comments down below, of course, and if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do so, and go ahead and hit that notification bell if you have. There's a link for my email list down below if you want to subscribe to that as well. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.